All right, in this demo, we want to use Snowflake LLM functions to help us understand call transcripts. So in order to do this, we're going to add in a data source from Snowflake into our Coalesce environment, specifically this call transcripts table from Snowflake. And once this is added in as a node, we can select it and view the data coming from it and see that there's a field called transcript that contains a call transcript between an agent and a customer, and they're in 3 different languages: German, French, and English. And I want to be able to translate all of those transcripts into the same language, in this case, English. So I'm going to go ahead and add a stage node in here, and we'll rename this to German. And I'm going to add a filter in here to allow me to only filter through the records that contain call transcripts that have German. Now that I've done this, I'm going to duplicate this node to allow me to do the same thing for French and English. So in this case, I'm actually just going to say in, and then we'll put this in parentheses and turn this to French and this to English. And now, just like that, we have 2 stage nodes that allow us to process our language. Now that we've done that, I'm going to add in my LLM functions through a node called LLM Cortex function. And for my German one, I'm going to use the translate toggle here and pass through the transcript field, which contains the transcript that's in German currently. And I'm going to pass through German as the language that I want to translate from, and English for the translation that I want to translate to. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for this node that has our French data in it. Again, select the transcript field, and we will select French as the language we want to translate from, and English as the language we want to translate to. Now that we've done that, I want to be able to combine these nodes together to make sure I can have a unified data set that contains my German, French, and English data all together. To do that, I'm going to select one of these LLM nodes and add a new stage node. Now that I've created this new stage node, I want to be able to union my French node to this German node. And so I'm going to toggle on multi-source and select union all as my source strategy. I can select this plus button and select the additional LLM node that I have my French data in and drag it to the mapping grid. Now that I've done that, I need to point this new source that I brought in to the reference of where it's coming from. And I can just select generate join and click on copy to editor to add that code in without having to write a single line of code myself. And just like that, I've unioned together both of my LLM nodes that are translating my data. Now that I've done that, I'm actually going to recreate this node and populate it with data by clicking the run button. Now I'm going to add another LLM node on top of this stage node that we just unioned together with our data. The first thing I'm going to do is duplicate this transcript field and call this transcript sentiment, because I want to create a sentiment score on top of it. And so I'm going to click on my Cortex package and select sentiment and select that column I just created, that I just duplicated, to be able to create a sentiment score off of. But I also want to be able to understand who my customer is that's associated with this call transcript. So I'm going to select extract answer, and I'm going to select the transcript field that I had, my original transcript field, and pass through who is the customer as the question that I want to know. I'm also going to change the data type to array, which will be the data type that I get in return from asking this question. So I'm going to create and run this node to be able to get the results of everything that I just passed through on the options on the right-hand side of the screen. And we should see that we now have 2 fields, transcript, which has an array in it containing my customer, and a sentiment around how that call went. With that said, I'm now going to add in a final stage node that we could use to pass through to something like a business intelligence tool like Tableau. And in this case, I'm going to click on transcript and select derive mappings from JSON, which is the format that that array is currently in. And you'll see we have 2 new fields that were created. And I'm going to rename this answer, which contains our customer name, to customer name. Now that I've done that, I'm going to create and run this node to populate it with data. And now that I've done that, I can navigate to Snowflake to allow me to analyze this data a bit further. So for all of my call transcripts that have a score where the customer accuracy is above 0.85%, I can actually see what the sentiment was for each of those customers. So I can see for Thomas Mueller, he had a very high sentiment, whereas Lena Mueller had a relatively negative sentiment. Additionally, I can view things such as the sentiment around damage type and the damages that our products have that people call in about, where we can see that customers who experience a broken buckle have the lowest sentiment when they have a negative feeling or a negative sentiment when they are calling in to begin with. And we can continue to analyze our data in ways that we never could have before by using these LLM functions.